In hindsight, it wasn't the best idea from a dietary perspective driving from Norwich to Glasgow, but half a dozen coffees and a heap of junk food later, we arrived. The train from Glasgow to Oban was 3.5 hours of beautiful Western Highland scenery, passing through stations with names that could have come straight from Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings. We just couldn't stop gawping out of the window, which after 3 hours gave us tired but happy eyes and a neck ache. At last, after 16.5 hours travelling, we arrived at the beautiful Inner Hebridean town of Oban, which looked as gorgeous and old-worldly at night as it did in the day. Only a handful of cruise ships were able to make it through the Inner Hebrides. That's the incredibly complicated-looking bit of coastline on the western side of Scotland. But if there's a way into these otherwise inaccessible places, Azamara will find it. Oban is a fitting inclusion to their varied and recent award-winning roster of immersive destinations, for the town has had both cultural and political significance over the centuries, as well as maintaining most of its picturesque Highland charm. Given the geographical terrain and climate, the Highlands are peppered with whisky distilleries. So much so, you'd think Scotland would be famous for it. That was a joke, by the way. Oban has one of the smallest and oldest. Established in 1794, the distillery was here before the town was. In fact, they built the town around it. So it was with no doubt that while we were there, we couldn't resist a distillery tour and whisky tasting, which felt decidedly naughty at 10 in the morning. Unfortunately, we were not allowed to film or photograph any part of the tour, which is a proper knee in the groin when you're trying to do an interesting vlog, so you'll just have to take our word for it that it was well worth the time, and we recommend you do it yourself the next time Azamara or a ScotRail train brings you here. Suitably drammed up with our excitement level at DEFCON 1, we decided it was time to join our ship, the brand new Azamara Pursuit. I say brand new, but it's not really brand new. Prior to Azamara's loving restoration, the ship was in fact the P&O Adonia, and one of only 8 R-class ships in existence. Made in 2001 as R8, the last and therefore newest of this now retired design has been subject to a £50 million refurbishment in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Its Gaelic heart therefore beats strongly here in Oban, just across the Irish Sea from its place of birth. And waiting patiently for us in our balcony stateroom was a cold bottle of champers, an ideal accompaniment to a tour of the room, which in a typical visit with us way will be balanced and fair. Oh dear. The bathroom is small but handsome, and they've just about managed to fit in everything you need. Just. There are some narrow shelves to keep your toiletries on, and the shower is just about big enough. Although in our room the water flow rate was, how can I politely put it, relaxed. There was also only room for a dreaded clingy shower curtain, not a glass shower door. The wardrobe was conveniently lit inside, but fitting in more than a couple of weeks of attire would be a struggle. Elton John wouldn't approve. Mind you, Elton John would be in a suite. Disappointingly, I couldn't fit our small MacBook in the safe, but it was a decent size for everything else. Well, that's almost all the niggles out of the way, and we are being rather picky here in the interests of good journalism. And I'm delighted to say the bed comfort level went all the way up to 11, although we couldn't quite work out why one side of the bed had a square bedside unit and the other side had a more modern-looking round one. And these bedside reading lights were super convenient, especially as they had these USB sockets built in for that essential overnight phone charge. Instagram followers do not forgive a flat battery, you know. We also loved this love seat. Room enough for 2 if you don't mind cozying up, and hey, why wouldn't you? Now, we really must discuss the problem with this lovely new TV, which looks pretty and high-tech until you turn it on, and realise the system Azamara have is shockingly old-fashioned by modern cruise ship standards. The webcam is politely described as soft focus. The TV channels are low def and random, and the map system I recognise to be the one Cunard replaced a few years ago. But, hold on. Azamara CEO Larry Pimentel mentioned at the naming ceremony press conference that a new company-owned satellite-based system called Excalibur was being rolled out across the entire Royal Caribbean fleet, including Azamara, in the coming year or two. This is to include, amongst other huge improvements, lightning fast internet, in-suite ordering and menu systems, and I would guess a new TV front end. So we can forgive them for not bothering until then. Want to watch a film in the meantime? Bring your iPad. This desk-cum vanity unit houses a minibar, fridge and some drawers for more of your stuff. The plugs are thankfully plentiful and include 2 American, 1 European and 1 good old British 3-pin. Hallelujah. It's a shame the large mirror isn't very well lit for applying makeup and doing your hair though. Helen fared okay as you can see, but I struggled a bit, particularly with my makeup. Another joke by the way. I put mine on in the bathroom. Each evening we were treated to these little petit fours instead of pillow chocks. Much more thoughtful and much more delicious, eh? As I mentioned in our ship tour video, have you seen it? Why not? The balcony is small, but having used ours for this voyage, it was perfectly big enough. In fact, we spent more time on this balcony than most ships we've been on. The table and chairs are a brilliant idea, and much more usable than squashing in a couple of lounges. I actually much prefer the old school safety bars on the balcony rather than the more fashionable glass panel, which always looks a bit grubby and obscures the view. Another little thing that amused me was the magnetic door do not disturb sign, which you stuck to the door. Incredibly simple but horribly addictive. You just can't stop flipping it. In summary, yes, the stateroom is a little snug, but this is the R-Class design, not Azamara's, and they have reworked them to be as luxuriously detailed as their size allows. For not much more money, we would almost certainly upgrade to a Club Continent suite, and not only to enjoy a much larger room and gorgeous bathroom, but also unlimited access to the specialty restaurants. More of them in a later video. You'll need to get in quick. The suites always seem to sell out first. We did promise to show you this beautiful drawing room as it wasn't available when we did our ship tour. This is the ship's library too, and is a perfectly restful place to sit with a good book by the fire, unlit of course, or gaze out of the window to the midships pool area below. I have to mention the stunning replica of the Beacon of Hope sculpture, the real one being situated in Belfast, the city in which the Pursuit was born. The ring of thanksgiving the lady holds aloft represents an endless wish for hope, peace and harmony for mankind, and will proudly remind travellers of its message and of the ship's roots. This beautiful piece sits in the Mosaic Cafe area, where during the day and evening you can get complimentary tea and coffees and small plates of naughty but nice foods. It gets busy here at certain points of the day, but the staff are brilliant and are always on hand with a smile and a cheeky piece of cake. We sat there a lot and snacked on a lot of naughty food. But don't eat too many treats from Mosaic before you come here, the ship's main complimentary Discoveries restaurant, because your appetite will never forgive you for not taking full advantage of its fine and inventive menu. Speaking of which, there are a full 4 courses plus petit four on offer, and you'll need a little hunger to fully appreciate the delightful meal you'll be served. The venue is open dining too, so just rock up when you feel you're ready to indulge. Just take a drool over these for a minute as we draw our first day to a close. Unfortunately, after the meal, we had to wrap the night up due to an unfortunate Irish sea swell that was gently but mercilessly torturing our inner ears into submission. Oh well, we were tired anyway, and that gorgeous bed, the wine and the small seasick tablet combined, was like a kiss from an angel, apart from a weird dream involving the Pope, a pint of Guinness and a hanging basket. But that's part 2 story. Thanks for watching. Please give us a thumbs up and hit the old subscribe button, and before you go, here's a short preview of part 2. Coming very soon.